Salamun liachinaiki yamatenahun. Salamun liachinaiki yamatenahun. Habiban yafitu Nadan wachtiraman Habiban yafitu Nadan wachtiraman Fakayfa hamani kakayfa lashilu Fakayfa hamani kakayfa lashilu Kayfa shanashilu Fakayfa sigaru Kayfa shanashilu Kayfa sigaru Salamun Peace to the world, peace to my country, my love, peace to your dreams, peace to your children underneath the whispering trees, where our sons and daughters are free. In the beauty we will see through your eyes of peace, peace to our heart, peace to our homeland. Salamun liyaninaki yamatenu. Salamun liyaninaki yamatenu. Habiba yafitu Nadum waqtirama. Habiba yafitu Nadum waqtirama. Fakayfa hamani kakayfa lashilu Fakayfa hamani kakayfa lashilu Kayfa shanashilu Fakayfa sigaru Kayfa shanashilu Kayfa sigaru Salamun, peace to
Iraqi peace song is a lullaby calling for universal peace and love. The relationship between a mother and child is universal, and lullabies are a fundamental part of our human identity. We are privileged to share our community with so many diverse individuals where we can come together in the sharing of music and art. Today's program is our reflection on the importance of listening to each other, especially to those in Indigenous communities who have been affected by the traumas of residential schools or suffer from the tragedy of missing and murdered women and children. We first performed The Ancient Ones and One with the Wind, the focus of today's presentation, at the 25th anniversary concert of Women of Note. At that time, and even as we did the audio in March for this video presentation today, we thought we understood the meaning and sentiment for both. So much has happened in the past few months that have opened our eyes and hearts to the impact of colonization and the suffering to Indigenous Canadians for generations. Today, we perform these pieces with a clearer understanding. It has been an honor and a privilege to work on this project with Eliza Beardy. We have listened as Eliza shared stories of being torn away from her family to attend residential school from age 6 to her mid-teens. It was heartbreaking to hear how she was seldom able to go home to be with her family and to hear the story of her younger brother. Shortly after Eliza entered residential school, he had become ill, was transported alone to St. Boniface Hospital, where he died never to be seen by his family again. It was not until May of this year, 58 years later, when Eliza and another brother found his gravesite at Brookside Cemetery, marked with a small white disc with the number 215. 1 week after finding her little brother's burial site, a floodgate of memories opened up for Eliza, with the shocking news of the discovery of gravesites of 215 children near a former residential school in Kamloops, BC. To Eliza, thank you. You have taught us so much. Today, there's new meaning to these songs for us as we sing them from our hearts with tears in our eyes. Today, we share these songs and their truth with all of you in this video audience in hope that, together, we can all move forward in truth, understanding, and reconciliation.
Eliza, thank you so much for working with me and Women of Note on this project. We started this project to both honor and recognize truth and reconciliation and the missing and murdered women and children. I think you've helped us to have a better understanding of the suffering that you've had and what your people have had. I just want you to know how much we really appreciate it. I can't imagine how horrible it was for you to be ripped away from your family when they came and took you. Can you share any of those thoughts with us?
Well, first of all, I never thought that I would be here, because a lot of times I get called to do certain things. But I never thought I'd be with you people, the choir. And every time I'm asked to do something, I don't know what I'm going to do until they tell me. And I've gotten to know you people. And especially this year, it's meant a lot to me. Like I always say, I don't want no pity for what happened to me. I just keep on walking. I have to walk this road. We all have to walk this road. We cannot go around it, what happened. That the truth has come out. And it took all these years. And it's been quite a long road, like when I was young, up to 4 or 5 years of age. I honestly don't remember exactly being a child and traveling with my parents. There's only certain things that I remember. It was a quiet life. had no worries. I never heard my parents say. I can remember before I went to school. Sometimes I used to look out from my dad's tent and I look way out. I used to think that's the end of the earth. That's all I knew. I didn't know what was over there. And it wasn't until then that's when we started being picked up to leave for residential school. I didn't know I was going to leave. Didn't know where I was going, but I saw my parents. That's the last time I saw them, standing on the shoreline. I still picture them. I know what my mom was wearing. She was dressed in a blue sweater. She had an apron on. I know what she has on. I still see her. Even my dad. They're standing there. And then we left. There was a lot of us. As we were flying, I looked out the window and didn't know where I was going. I didn't know we were going to Norway House. I didn't know what was going on. They took us into the schools. We had to stay in the basement. And at first, I didn't get lonely, but I heard a lot of young children crying when we first got there in the basement. And they gave us a blanket to sleep on. There was no mattress, it was a blanket. The gray blanket and a pillow, that's it. We had to sleep there. And the next morning they cleaned us up. They wouldn't take us into the dormitory until we were all cleaned up, washed and everything. This is when they really scrubbed us. But they used small brushes, the wooden brushes, and it really hurt. They really scrubbed us off. Oh, really, it really hurt. They'd take us into the shower, clean us up. And a lot of us had long hair right up to here. They cut it up to our ears. Oh, we lost all our hair. And that's one thing I lost was my pride. That was our pride and joy by our parents. A lot of us had braids on and everything, and they cut them all off. And then they took us into the shower and really just rubbing our scalps and everything. And then after that, they put DDT on our hair. There was so much on there, you could see it. They were trying to de-lice our hair, where it says trying to scrub the Indian out of us so we won't remember our parents. For me, it's a white society trying to make you into a white person. But they never succeeded. But then after that, a lot of things were done. And I heard a lot of little girls crying, lonely, nobody to turn to. We used to try and comfort each other. We were there, inside. You're not allowed to go outside. It's like being in prison, like nobody's allowed to go anywhere. And we just helped one another. And that was the hard part. I remember working in the staff room, in the dining room. They had everything, toast, everything. It was so nice. And when we worked there, they put us in there, help. That was our job, to work where the staff ate. We used to look at all the bacon, everything. They ate really good. In the other dining room, when we were eating stuff that wasn't fit for anybody, but we had to eat it.
How long were you there? You were 6 when they took you there?
I was there till I was 14.
And that's when they moved you to Toulon.
I remember we got in trouble, a couple of us girls. They gave us toothbrushes. We were made to wash the stairway with a toothbrush. You had to scrub it. And we were there from top to bottom. We had to do it with a toothbrush, not a brush. And then the supervisor comes and tell you, oh, it's dusty, But a little toothbrush, imagine trying to finish that. But there'd be a couple of us all the way from the top. That's what they did to us. That's one thing they did to us when you got in trouble. Or else they give you a strap. I remember one woman, she's still alive. She got hit with that hockey stick right across the back at night time. And she was just blue in the back. She's still alive. I remember that one. At 14, I came straight south. Two of us girls were brought into Winnipeg by one of our teachers. That was our first job, to go to Gimli at 14. We helped in the summer. We stayed in Gimli. And then they bring us into the city. And that house is still there where we used to come. It was a hostel by the United Church. And we'd stay there and then go back to work. And then from there I went to Toulon. I never saw my parents. I didn't have a chance to get to know them. But it wasn't until I decided to go home. Something told me when I was in Toulon, I was there 2 or 3 years, and I said, I want to go home. Something told me, that's it for me. I'm quitting. They told me, don't quit, you're doing good. I said, no, I'm quitting. I got to go home. And finally they let me go. That's when I saw my parents. They were both in bed. Mom couldn't do anything. Mom couldn't even open her eyes. My dad was laying there too. Went in, I said, Mom, I'm home. My dad just there, couldn't believe it. What are you doing here? I said, I'm coming home. Well, I didn't look back. I said, no white man's going to step all over me this time. I'm going to go out there and help the people. That's all I said. Never looked back. That was my first step. I just left school. And then from there I took care of my parents. And now, being Indigenous, it's learning all over again. I didn't know how to do this, and when I had my children, I had to learn how to survive. And at least I learned to look after my children as they grew up. But it's a process that you have to learn as you grow up, how to survive. So that's the story I have.
And every time you tell me this, you give me another little picture of your life.
I try not to get angry at anybody for what happened, but it's impossible. You want to protect people, even the ones you don't know. They're suffering so much from the experiences they had. They suffer so much. I try not to get angry, and I get home and think about people that went through all this. It's all about residential school. People are suffering. A lot of people don't believe what we went through. A lot of them, they don't know what we went through.
Yeah.
They don't believe it. But it's been heartbreaking. We just try and keep walking, going. And it's been a hard road for all of them that went to residential school. It's been very hard. You run into things and all kinds of obstacles, and there's just, you feel, you just feel sometimes helpless, and what I see out there, it's sad because you want to help them, but they have their own way of trying to cope, and it's very hard on them. It's very hard on all of us. And I said, I don't know what it's like for a mother to say that she loves you, or your dad. I just lived, and I never heard them say that to me. All I learned was, just not the way a parent would treat you. It was just how we were treated in the schools was awful. We didn't have the
Incomprehensible.
love of a mother and a father. We didn't have that. My heartbeat before and after. I don't like writing. It has to come from the heart. It symbolizes to me my relationship between my mom and dad. When I think of the heart, a story comes to my mind. Here is a photo of my mom and dad. I went to Norrie House Residential School when I was 6 until I was 14. I wondered how many times my mother's heart broke when I left. I can still see them standing on the shoreline of Garden Hill while we were put on the plane. They pulled us away from our parents. We did not know where we were going. Sometimes I wonder if that is why Mom and Dad had heart conditions. Was it because they were lonely? The seed comes first. Our heartbeat comes from our parents, and their heartbeat came from their parents as well. My parents gave me their heartbeat. It was the start of my being. I was a seed in my mother's womb. I was joined to my mom as a flower that flourished from her. When I arrived, my heart started beating. The heart is like a drum Mom and Dad gave me. When I got married later, I received a seed from my husband. We gave our heartbeat to our children, and so it continues. This was the next generation. When we gave our heartbeat to our children, I knew I needed to take good care of their heartbeats, that I must keep watering them because it's a hard journey. That's my job. I think of parents like a flower's seed that fly in every direction, seeds that keep growing. The heartbeat of the drum goes all the way down through the generations. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren pass on the seed, the heartbeat. I call my great-grandchildren my 14 little drums, my flowers, my garden. And sometimes the flower withers, it needs water. When I see one of my 3 flowers go down, I know I need to pour water on them, and they come back again. When my husband died, I had to act as a mother and father and keep watering the children. When I went to residential school, Mom and Dad's heart broke. Part of their heart was lost. More pieces of their heart ripped away when my siblings were taken later. Were their heart conditions due to their loneliness for us? While I was away, I was lonely too. I didn't know where I was. It was very strange. It has been a hard journey, but I am grateful that I have been blessed by heartbeats passed on to me and my children. The heartbeat of the drum goes on and on. When my first husband and I separated, I had shattered each of my children's hearts, and I had to find all the pieces. I had to apologize for breaking their hearts, and I had to put the glass back together. It was very hard to find the pieces, and I needed to water my flowers. I used a lot of water and a lot of tears. Their father also had a heart attack. My grandchildren take care of my heart for me. If it wasn't for the love of my little heart drum beats, I would not be a grandmother for them and for them to ask for advice. The Creator gave the drumbeat of the heart, and it continues on and on.
From the beginning we have been with you. We are the ancient ones, and we remember the time when there was only love, the time when all breathing was one. We remember the seed of your being, planted in the valley of the first black night. We remember the red cave of deep slumber. The time of forgetting, the sound of your breath, the pulse of your heart. We remember the force of your longing for life, the cries of your birth, bringing you forth. We are the ancient ones, and we have waited. We are the ancient ones, and we have watched and waited.
You say that you cannot remember that time, that you have no memory of us. You say that you cannot hear our voices, that our touch no longer moves you. You say there can be no return, that something has been lost, that there is only silence.
Oh
Women of Note commissioned The Ancient Ones, composed by Joan Shimko, in recognition and honor of truth and reconciliation and the murdered and missing women and children. We've come a long way since we first did that piece. We thought we knew what we were singing about, but Eliza, during this past year when we've been working on this project with you, things have really changed, both from our experiences with you and the stories that you've shared with us, but also because of what's been happening with finding the grave sites of so many children, and your own story about your brother. I'd like us to explore a little bit about what those changes were as we traveled through this journey.
I remember I asked you, what is the meaning behind the Ancient Ones? Where did it come from? How did this happen? I asked you that. Before what happened about the 215 children, I wanted to know, what's the meaning behind the Ancient Ones?
Well, the original reason for us starting the project was we wanted to do something as a choir to recognize what was happening in our societies and how we were dealing with it. The poem itself was written for the reconciliation of South Africa. And when Joan was looking for a poem, she felt that it really encapsulated what was happening in North America. And we built on it from there. I think definitely for both you and me, how we felt when we first performed that piece at the 25th anniversary concert has been very different from what we have just experienced as we did the audio recordings and the video performances for this project. I, for one, know so much more about what has happened to your people and how colonization has affected them and you, that I come from a totally different perspective. What was the difference for you from when you first performed it with us?
The reason I asked you was because I asked you, did you really know or feel what you're singing about? And like I said, what is the meaning of this, even though you just told me? But at first, when you first started this, how did your choir feel about this? Was there a deep meaning, or were you just singing it from that poem? Did you know the meaning or the reason why you were singing this?
We definitely thought we knew from the experiences that we'd had up until that time. We thought we had an understanding, but that understanding has completely changed since that time, in that 3-year period, and in the last 3 months.
Because that's why I asked you, because there's a reason for you and the choir to have sang that song, but you didn't know why. There was more to it than that which you did not know until now.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. I will say that it's far more heartfelt now than it was originally. It was similar for you. You had a similar experience for different reasons.
When I first performed with you, I didn't really, feel anything. I was just listening to the song, but I didn't really take it in. I didn't have a feeling. I didn't feel the way I do now. It's not that I like that song, but just looking at the words, listening to them, no picture came to me because I didn't know why this song was chosen. That's why I asked you what's the meaning behind this or what happened. But now, since the finding of that 215 children, I compare that to having searched for my little brother, which I never saw. I only remember him just one time. And then that's when I left the residential school. It was in 1955 that I went to to residential school. But I don't remember seeing my little brother. That's the only one time I saw him, that picture. And I just can't remember my youngest one either. The only thing I remember is my mom standing there. And while I was in school, then I had heard that they had been taken to the hospital, not right away. Years after that, I heard he was 6 years old and that he had gone to the hospital. And then it wasn't long after then I heard that he had passed on. And I was in the school. After that happened, then I didn't know that nobody was told where he was buried. Nobody, not even my parents were told, never took him home. In all these years they've been searching for him. That's what happened when, like when our people pass on, we take them home, back to the homeland. We bury them in our homeland. And that was the hard part for my parents, not knowing where he was. Nobody told us this is where he is and all that. From that time on, my mom and dad didn't know. So it wasn't until I got older, I think I was in Tula, and I didn't really think about it. And then that's when we said, okay, we have to find out where he is. And all these years, our parents were wondering, and nobody helped them. They didn't tell them anything. So all these years, 58 years, searching for him.
I remember you calling me when you found your brother's grave. And then I remember 1 week later, you called me with a whole different emotion when you first heard about the 215 children in Kelowna that had been found. And the number 215 was so important to you and so meaningful to you.
Yeah, his number there was 215. And 10 days later, that's when I heard that 215 children were found at the residential school. They were all buried there. And that's when everything just crashed on me. I just cried so hard. I said, why? What's happening? I said, why is this happening? I said, I'd find my brother this year. And I just couldn't get over that number 215. I said, here, my brother, plot 215. 10 days later, 215 residential school children are found. And I just said, why? Why? I kept saying, what's going on here? It's just like as if having found my little brother, and then all of a sudden, 215 children are found as well. It's like as if we opened everything up. I said, my goodness, and it stayed with me for a long time. I still think about it, but I don't cry anymore. I said, after all these years, I said, I found my brother, and then 215 other children are found, buried, who never went home. That's all I thought of.
It was soon after that discovery that we went into the studio to record your 3 lines in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that memory is forever etched in my head, because I remember getting you all situated and comfortable in the studio and handing you the piece of paper with the words that you read before, and the tears just started to come down your face.
Then when I walked in there and getting ready to read, and I looked at it and the music started, and first word that came up on that ancient one. I couldn't talk. I was stuck. It just hit my chest. I started crying, that first word that's written there. And the wording, every line meant so much to me. Was it the ancient ones? I cried, tears in my eyes, and every word just meant so much. And that the ancient one says that we are the forgotten ones. And I thought about those children. And the truth came out then, what had happened. Nobody ever knew those 215 children were there until I found my brother. And it really hurt. I couldn't sleep. And that's when I just don't know why, what happened.
But also in that studio experience, we only had a little bit of time, and I wanted you to hear the other songs so that you could feel how both songs were related in the performance. And so we moved on to One with the Wind. And you told me afterwards, that had given you some peace and a release as well for the spirits of the children and of your brother.
These children were forgotten. They're there, but nobody knew where they were. And now we know where they are. They were found. We are the ancient ones. And I see, that's the same with the wind. That's when I saw children laughing, dancing. They're happy. That's when I saw that. When that song, The Wind, they're like floating in the air, and they're dancing, and I see them with their shawls and everything. The regalia, little children, they're happy. I see them dancing when that song was there. And that's how I remember them. Every one of them, even though just from the ancient ones to we are the forgotten ones. When are you going to find us? That's how I look at it. And now that we have found them, we found them, people found them. And like I always say, you can hide anything, but someday the truth will come out. And a lot of them with us, the wind, the children, I still hear them laughing, dancing in regalia. They're all dancing. That they have been found. They were lost for many years, many, many years. But now we can put them at rest.
It gave me, just through that whole experience with you, and it gave me a whole different perspective on both of the pieces and how they fit together in my heart. And I felt a trigger of hope, that we could feel hope moving forward together. That whole song, One with the Wind, just brought us working together and moving forward together. Not just you and I, but our communities as well.
I think it's for everybody.
Absolutely.
Not only our communities, but all over the world.
Yes.
We should get along and not fight all the time. And, the truth is out there, but there's still a lot of people out there that need to be found.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find everybody. Doesn't matter if they're indigenous. There's a lot of people out there crying to be found and everything. That they want peace. And I think it's time, unless if there's love, that's the only way we can come together. There's too much happening. We don't love each other. The truth came out. Now what are we going to do? Like I say, what is, to you, what is truth? And how are you going to put yourself in there and reconcile? Only truth and love. And until all over the world, until we find the true meaning of love, then it's going to take a long time for us to get together.
I'm going to bring one more word into that. And it's a word that you and I have talked a lot about because it's featured in the ancient ones, and it's listen.
Yeah.
And to find the truth, we have to listen to one another, which is why we decided to title this project Listen, because through our experiences of listening to one another, we can maybe find that truth and understand that truth and then move forward together with love.
We are taught by our elders. It's like saying, listen, listen, listen to us. And it's carried on from one generation to another. I have to carry it too from
But it's
the
also-
elders, the teaching.
But it's also listening to each other
Yeah,
and within our communities.
yes.
Because hopefully, if we listen to one another, we will have a better understanding.
Yes, we always have to stop and listen.
There's so little we can do as an organization because we're musicians and we're singers, and so we had to find some way of honoring this whole truth and reconciliation. I also firmly, and you and I discussed this before too, is that things happen for a reason.
Yeah,
And I think the reason that I was not able to finalize this project at our 25th anniversary was that there was so much more to come. And so, as you're saying, more to come. It's not ending here. This is not the end of it. We all have to be listening and thoughtful about how we live together in our community and move forward together.
As we have heard in One with the Wind, from the four corners of the earth, the wind blows over us all. Together we rise, together we fly, together we sail on the wind. And from the ancient ones, we say the time of waiting is over. We say the silence has been broken. We say there can be no forgetting now. We say, listen. We all have a role to play in reconciliation. We must listen with our hearts as well as our ears as we continue to seek the truth about the past and open our minds to accept knowledge of acts inflicted upon an undeserving nation in the name of colonization. We must work together to rebuild trust between cultures and walk together step by step towards a stronger, better future for us all, so that we can say with heartfelt truth, I love you. What a wonderful world.
We can be together.